Guys, welcome to today's vlog on OJB Fashion Style. So in today's tutorial, we'll be making use of this Ankara fabric. So the first thing I'm actually doing here is to make a fold in 4 places. So my fabric here that I'm using now is 1 yard. So I'm trying to make a fold into 4 so as to cut out my flare that we'll be using for our crop top. So what I did here was I folded my 1 yard first into 2, then I folded it again into 4. So that's what I mean by making a fold into 4. So the first measurement I'm taking there was actually 5 inches, but I discovered it wasn't enough to go around, so I actually extended it to about 6 inches. So the radius there was about 6 inches, while the length of the flare is about 12 inches long. So the next measurement I'm taking there is the length of my flare, which is about 12 inches long. So it depends on you. If you want your flare to be longer, it is fine. If you want it to be shorter, it is fine. So mine was about 12 inches long in length. So after that, I just went straight to cutting out the So now I'm almost done cutting out my flare. So the next thing I'll be doing is to cut out the top, which I'll be attaching my flare to, which is what you see me folding now. So the first measurement I'm actually taking there is my shoulder to shoulder measurement, which I divided into 2. So my shoulder to shoulder is about 16 inches. So dividing it by 2, it gave me 8. So I went also to cut out the neck. So the first measurement I'm taking there on the neck is actually 5 inches wide and 4 inches deep. So I'm trying to get sort of a boat neck pattern. So next I'll try to get my armhole measurement, so which is what you see me doing. So I went in by 7 inches, and then I used my chest circumference measurement. I divided into 4 to get my armhole measurement. Then I added 2 inches seam allowance to it. So that's the basic measurement required for cutting a top. So now I'll be cutting out the back with the front pieces. So the fabric for the back is actually wider than that of the front. Reasons being that I'm actually going to leave out space for zipper allowance before using the front cutting on the back fabric, which is what you see me doing right now. So I left out a space for zipper allowance. Then also the neck measurement is actually 2 inches lesser than the front measurement. So having done that, I just went straight to attach my lining to my actual fabric, and then I ironed them out. So having arranged the front and the back fabric together, I'll be going over to the sewing machine to sew the shoulders and also the 2 sides. As you can see, our top is actually looking very neat and fine. So the next thing I'll be doing now is attaching my flare fabric to this top. So our crop top is almost ready. As you can see now, our flare crop top is looking beautiful already. So now I'll be folding the edges as you can see me illustrate in the video, then I'll be running a stitch all through the edges of the flare. After that, we'll be cutting out our sleeve, our puff sleeve. So in my previous videos, I'm sure if you're a subscriber, I'm sure you would have seen several videos where I taught on how to cut out a normal basic sleeve. So now I'm done cutting out my sleeve. So I'll be using the same pattern to cut out my gum stay, which I'll be attaching or ironing on my actual fabric, my actual sleeve fabric. So now remember that our fabric was cut into 4, so I'll be removing 2 and putting aside while I attach my gum stay to the remaining 2. Next, I went over to iron them out. So they are stretched out now and it's actually looking neat. So what I'm going to do, the other 2 fabric, sleeve fabric I set aside, I'm going to be turning the right sides facing each other, and then I'll be running a stitch at the edge as you see me illustrate in the video. After I was done doing that, I'll be flipping the fabric over now to the right side as you can see me do. You can see it's now looking beautiful and neat. So next I'll be using my needle and thread to make a gather in form of a puff at the top. It's optional, you can actually use your sewing machine, but I usually prefer to use my needle and thread. So first I made a notch at the middle after folding my sleeve in 2, and then I used my needle and thread to make my puff on both sleeves. So this is what it looks like after I was done using my needle and thread to make my gathers. So next I'll be attaching my sleeves to my crop top. So now I'm actually flipping over to the right side my crop top, and this is what it's actually looking like. As you can see, it's looking so lovely and beautiful. So I actually went over to the sewing machine to partially close the back, and then the remaining opening is where we'll be fixing our zipper. So guys, our crop top is ready. So after now, we'll be going over to sew our simple pencil skirt. So we'll see you in our next tutorial class.